Where the last leg of campaigning has ended in the country. Marine Le Pen and Emmanuel Macron have made their final bids, and it is now up to the voters to choose who will be the president of France. Our next report gets you all the latest details from one of the most polarized elections in the Republic's history, where there are many issues that the French public is voting on, and one of them, interestingly, happens to be the issue of hijab. Take a look.
Incumbent French President Emmanuel Macron and his far-right rival Marine Le Pen were on the offensive as they made their final appeals to the electorate ahead of Sunday's runoff vote. Centrist, pro-European Macron has consistently led the polls against his anti-immigration, Eurosceptic challenger, well outside the margins of error. But with abstention expected to be high, ire towards some of Macron's policies and a dislike of his sometimes abrasive style, his re-election is no done deal. Undecided voters will be weighing their fears of what a Le Pen presidency could bring against their anger towards Macron's record. Macron has acknowledged his failure to soothe some of the frustration and dissatisfaction around his efforts at economic and social reform, which he says Le Pen is using to drive her campaign. But he has urged voters to resist what he called the rise of far-right ideology.
We should not get used to the rise of far-right ideas. I think there are differences in the Democratic in a Republican field which should face each other off in a local or national election, but there are then differences of values between the categories of these ideas.
Le Pen's policies include a ban on Muslim headscarves in public, giving French nationals priority on jobs and benefits, and limiting Europe's rules on cross-border travel. She claims Macron embodies an elitism that has failed ordinary people.
In the face of this cold oligarchy who grab power, in the face of a self-proclaimed arrogant and moralistic elite, we are the voice and the soul of the silent majority. The overly kind silent majority. A majority that I am calling on to lend their voice by lending me their votes.
A surprise Le Pen win, similar to events such as Brexit and the election of Donald Trump as US president, is still possible. On the streets of Paris, uncertainty hangs in the air.
I really don't want Marine Le Pen to be in power. I think she's totally pro-Putin, and I totally oppose her foreign policy. I also oppose the atmosphere of civil war that she risks putting in place, especially with a hint of racism that has remained despite her efforts at softening her image.
In the northern city of Arras, concerns over the far right have faded.
Before, I was for Mr. Macron. My ideas corresponded with his, and like many people, I'm disappointed by his mandate, and I want to give a chance to Marine Le Pen. I really support her, with my heart. I studied her background, and she has improved a lot since 2017, when she last ran for president.
4 recent surveys published after Wednesday's tense TV debate showed Macron's score as either stable or rising slightly. But they also put the voter turnout rate at between 72% and 74%, potentially the lowest for a presidential runoff since 1969.
But also our correspondent Ross Cullen, who is presently in Paris, has been tracking this story very closely for us from the ground. And this is his report.
Well, the polls show that he does have a lead in the surveys looking at how people are potentially going to vote on this Sunday in the second round runoff. More or less around 55% for Emmanuel Macron, 45% or thereabouts for Marine Le Pen. So he does have about a 10-point lead at this stage. The presidential debate that we had here on Wednesday evening didn't really change much. It didn't have any major blows landed by Marine Le Pen or Emmanuel Macron that shifted the polls dramatically, and so they are still showing that Marine Le Pen does have quite a lead to try to erode away. She does have a lot of ground to make up. Emmanuel Macron is sitting comfortably on that 10-point advantage at the moment. We did certainly see Marine Le Pen getting closer when Emmanuel Macron was suffering a bit in the polls in and around the first round. He came out on top in the first round and she came second, but since then he has been steadily increasing his lead over Marine Le Pen. We don't expect to see a margin of victory if he were to win, Emmanuel Macron, like we saw in 2017, 66% for Emmanuel Macron. If he does win, it's likely to be with a much reduced majority.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.